Colleagues in education, it is my extreme pleasure to address you as the president of our esteemed union tutor this evening. At the end of the year, there's usually a sense of nostalgia. But as 2021 has come to an end, there's also much sadness as we remember the friends, the family members, and the colleagues who passed away. We pray for eternal rest for their souls. They will live on forever in our memories and our hearts. Comrades, when the promise was made by the Minister of Finance to give instructions for salary negotiations to begin, the union immediately wrote to the Chief Personnel Officer, the CPO, asking when such discussions would begin with tutor. To date, not only has there been no feedback, but the office of the CPO still has not completed the preparatory work to start negotiations. The union has been patient, and educators have been patient as well. However, in the face of the rising cost of living, the seemingly unwillingness of the Ministry of Health to address educators' matters in good faith, there will be an end to goodwill. Tutor has, over the last year, continued to serve members and to advocate for the welfare of our nation's most valuable asset, our children. In the face of circumstances generated by the pandemic, we have constantly impressed upon the Ministry of Education the importance of meaningful consultation and collaboration to effectively navigate this pandemic. Sadly, though, rather than engage in such, we have dates of meetings shared and media releases that paint a picture of seeming consultation. In reality, though, the Ministry of Education has firmly maintained the position that tutor will be told what it needs to be told. The recommendations which the union made to build resilience and sustainability into our education system have been repeatedly refused. We are at the juncture now where the reopening of schools on January the 3rd, 2022 will be met with dread and anxiety rather than with anticipation. Tutor, as a responsible social partner, believes that every individual, every educator must take personal responsibility for their own health and safety in these perilous times. Therefore, educators are encouraged to become vaccinated where it is possible for them to do so. I must say, however, that as a responsible union, Tutor also believes that each citizen has the right to determine whether or not he or she will become vaccinated. The union is strongly opposed to mandatory vaccination and will represent members and their choices. And that brings me, colleagues, to the proposal for the public sector to become quasi-safe zones within the state's proposed vaccination policy. The contradiction in terms of the utterances by the Attorney General on the matter thus far have been quite intriguing, actually. Still, having not received the proposed policy as it pertains to schools, nor having seen the amended legislation, the proposal in essence is, if you are not fully vaccinated by this date, then the employer will debar you from entering the workplace. After a period of time, which is still to be determined, the employer who has already locked you out of your workplace will then deem you as having abandoned your job. Isn't that interesting? Now, very recently, in a telephone conversation with the Minister of Education, I indicated to her that there must be bilateral discussions between the union and the Ministry of Education to ascertain how this policy would apply to educators, given the diverse manner in which we are conducting our jobs at present. Now, Tutor will follow through with having this meeting come off, and we will make our recommendations on behalf of education professionals. Notwithstanding this commitment, I wish to advise educators of the following. Once you are fit to resume duty on Monday, January 3rd, please do so. And note You are not required at this time to declare your vaccination status to the Ministry of Education or to any of its agents. Any such request must be immediately brought by members to the attention of the union. Your union advises, which we gave last term, once you are a secondary school teacher of forms 4, 5, or 6, and you are on the compound, you are not to engage in any remote teaching. These emergency measures ceased once you returned to your place of work. If you are and you are to engage students of forms 1 to 3, this must be done asynchronously. Let us, comrades, not be the reason that the state unilaterally amends the terms and conditions of employment because we are bending over backwards to fix something that we should not be trying to fix. Comrades, you are to report for duty each and every day. If there comes a time when you receive correspondence from your employer, then you comply. Do not stay away from work. Tutor, in conjunction with the Joint Trade Union Movement, JTUM, is eagerly awaiting the Attorney General or the Minister of Labor's invitation to properly discuss this proposed vaccination policy for the public sector. However, be mindful that as educators, if the Ministry of Education seeks to implement any policy in the education sector without clear articulation of terms, implementation procedures, or other relevant details, Tutor, like JTUM, stands ready to pursue the course of action it has decided upon. Please note, comrades, that if the state creates a scenario in the education system where there will be a shortage of manpower, it must not be our responsibility to fix it. That same benevolent state, which is coercing persons into vaccination in the name of public welfare and common good, is the same state which has not seen it fit to upgrade the UTT graduates of 2010 or pay the relevant increments to educators, nurses, and other public sector workers. That same state has not seen it fit to properly alleviate the plight of the numerous citizens who have suffered as a result of this pandemic. The same benevolent state, which is threatening the job security and livelihood of public sector workers and educators if they don't become vaccinated, is the same state which has not settled outstanding wage negotiations from 2013 for educators and even further back for other public sector workers. Comrades, I say, Tutor stands ready to do everything to protect the rights of educators and, in conjunction with JTUM, to protect the rights of the working class. If schools are to be safe zones or quasi-safe zones, then Tutor calls on the Ministry of Education to ensure, one, that the necessary funding is given to principals to provide sanitization material and signage for their schools. Two, the Ministry of Education must ensure that testing of educators and students be given a priority. Finally, there must be attention paid to infrastructure, many issues of which existed prior to COVID-19. I say to you, comrades, let us not be intimidated. Let us not be divided. Now is the time for solidarity, unity, and strength. Your union is here for you. Long live Tutor, long live educators. I offer blessings to you and to your loved ones, and may the Almighty grant all of us health and perseverance in 2022.